So the 3 points that I got coming out of his speech were that high mercury levels in dolphins would lead to sick Japanese people. The ecosystem losing dolphins is bad, and international conflict could come up from the annual dolphin hunt. So I want to group his arguments first. The view of Taiji as backwards and in need of Western-style saving is that they forbid perpetuates through their rhetoric, and their plan of action is Orientalist, and it's part of a narrative that of our culture that is used to mask the true intent of policymakers, which is to further perpetuate imperialism. This ensures continuing imperialist wars, which is the case. They forbid paint itself as having special circumstances and attempt to draw distinctions between them and the imperialist past, but it's part of the same system of domination. Edward Said in 2003 said, without a well-organized sense of what these people over there were not like us and didn't appreciate our values, the very core of traditionalist Orientalist dogma, there would have been no war. Every single empire in its official discourse has said it is not like all the others, and the circumstances are special, and it had a mission to enlighten, civilize, and only use force as a last resort, and said are still. And there's always a chorus of willing intellectuals who say calming words about the benign and altruistic empires. Orientalism once again raises the question of whether modern imperialism ever ended, or whether it's a continued in the Orient since Napoleon's entry into Egypt 2 years ago. And his rhetoric is specifically saying that we need to save the Japanese from consuming this as particularly Orientalist. And language matters. Language shapes reality by formulating our political thinking. Bleicher, who is a coordinator of Peace and Conflict Studies program in Queensland, in 1997 said, yet the manner in which we approach, think, and conceptualize and formulate errors has a significant impact on how it's practiced. Language frames politics. Form turns into substance. So the point at which the Western world has equivalent harms through a different mechanism, but we still hate on the Japanese, is one that we show devaluation of non-Western cultures and an Orientalist outlook. On his 3 main points. 1, he says mercury kills people, but heart disease kills people, and we don't ban high-fat meals or McDonald's. We want to ban their way of life because it's foreign and we don't understand it. Secretary Yoshihide Suga said in a news conference in Tokyo that dolphin fishing is a form of traditional fishing in his country. Also, on the ecosystems, Western cultures mess up the environment pretty bad. Look at the BP oil spill and fracking. Again, since their method is foreign, we want to ban it. And 3rd point, we've done plenty of sketchy things to promote international conflict. The example, we're in the Middle East, but we continue to do those things because it's perpetuated by us and not by those who we don't view as similar to us. So I think that we should adopt more relativism, which means that just because you don't have the same harms as us, or because you do things in a little bit different way, doesn't mean that you're any less than us, or that we should be intervening in your business. And we should examine the discourse that we use because it does shape how we perceive people. The net benefit to this is it helps mitigate potential wars by stopping otherizing tendencies. So on to his points more specifically. On his high mercury is bad for people. There's not enough people to eat dolphin to have a significant impact. New York Times said still meat is hardly a vital food source. Only a minority of Japanese eat whale, and dolphin is even less common, consumed in a handful of rural areas. His source specifically says the official attitude is probably along the lines of because so few people eat dolphin and whale meat, and since they tend to be mostly older, it's not that big of an issue. Also, banning the annual hunt doesn't stop the Japanese from eating dolphins. They're still able to hunt during the rest of the year. His source proves when it says that children eat 2 to 3 times a month. They eat dolphin 2 to 3 times a month, but the dolphin hunt is only once a year, so how do they get the dolphin meat the rest of the times? And his source on Minamata disease said it first came about in 1956, and 1968 was when the Japanese government had enough information to announce that it was caused by mercury. However, the annual dolphin hunt started in 1969, so that proves that Minamata is distinct from Taiji, both in location because they're different cities, and in time because Minamata happened a whole year before the dolphin hunt started happening. And how does he think that the UN plans to enforce this? They don't have the best history of following through on their declarations. See human rights. On his 2nd point about ecosystems. Since the dolphin hunt had been around since 1969 and nothing happened to the ecosystems yet, I think we're pretty safe. If anything, stopping the hunt after the ecosystem has adjusted already will cause too many predators, causing lower levels to be eaten and disrupted. But for my analysis, it takes into recent history into consideration. He gave no time frame. Prefer my time frame. It's immediate. Also, who cares if we have more jellyfish and crustaceans left? They're pretty sweet. There's no impact here. The ecosystem seems to be adapting pretty well. On his last point, on international conflict. He gave no impact to the international conflict. Considering there's conflict in the square, regardless, this is a drop in the bucket. Don't do the work for him by assuming there's some war and violence caused by this. Also, he says there's activist groups there, so if anything, it can solve for itself over time. Conflict isn't in the country's best interest, and if violence is suggested against it, it will likely stop the hunt to preserve its people. So, summing up. There are 0 harms here. Mercury poisoning is independent of the Taiji hunt. Ecosystems getting messed up is not going to happen, and if it did, there'd be no impact. International conflict is a drop in the bucket, and it would be solved anyway. Even if he has full weight of all of his harms, Orientalist rhetoric and the plan he uses outweighs because it perpetuates otherization. That turns the case because the resolving of the conflict or any added environmental value that he might promote will be overturned because the West will view the environment and other people as not like us and subject to our manipulation because there is an inherent respect there. The time frame is immediate. Otherization, environmental destruction is happening in the status quo. So thank you for listening.